Hello, Coons.
Kumi, I'm a first generation Ghanaian born in the Bronx. So I'm talking to you from
Oh,
New York.
there you go.
Okay, I have some questions because I'm learning the code. I like to think that I've always been on code spiritually, and I'm getting a lot of information education right now from black led organizations, whatever. So definitely
Yeah,
Pan Africanist, and I just want to understand more about the foundational Black American perspective, right? So for
yes.
clarification, right? When you say foundational Black American, you're referring to the black skinned people that were here before the history that we're taught of this country, right? Before Columbus, before Native Americans, like you're talking about the Africans that migrated here and were already
No,
living on this land,
no,
right?
no. Oh, those included with the people who were enslaved. I'm talking about the black
Mm-hmm.
people were not only here before Columbus, but the ones who were brought over
Mm-hmm.
enslaved and mixed in with the black Aboriginal and the people who were survivors of the slave trade in America. Those were what I'm talking about. The people who literally built the United
Right,
States. The non. That's who I'm talking
right.
about.
Okay, because I agree with that, right? But I have a
Yeah.
question because foundational Black American, right?
Yes.
America, that word is a white man's word, correct?
No.
Okay, correct me.
Okay, very good question. Um, when they went down to Central America,
Mm-hmm.
there was a tribe of black skinned people called, I want to say, Amariske, something like to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Something to that effect. So there was that name was already somewhat of an Aboriginal name here. Amerigo Vespucci took that name. His name wasn't Amerigo. um his first name was something else, but he actually changed his name to Amerigo. That wasn't his name initially.
And he's
And
from where?
Amerigo is Amerigo from Italy? I want to say he was from Italy,
Okay.
or what would become Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So that term, a lot of those words, they got them from Aboriginal indigenous words,
Uh,
just like in the Caribbean.
yeah, like
um
Jamaica and shit.
yeah, Jamaica, and that was Jamaica, that
Mm-hmm.
the Haiti was Haiti. That was the indigenous people. So they just heard what the indigenous people called the place, and then they just kind of put their own spin on it. You understand?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
go
Well,
ahead.
no. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that clarification. Okay, because I'm I'm like 23, turning 24, and there's a really great shift right now in the black youth migrate whatever, and there's a lot of divide between black Americans and other black skinned people, right? And it's been constant. But I really love to see the bridge, and I like to just focus on the bridge of everything, right? So
Right.
in your opinion, what advice would you give to other black skinned people that don't identify in any ways with being African, that they should or be open up to that? Like, do you claim African at all, like spiritually,
No,
culturally, anyway?
I'm genetically African, but culturally, I'm not African. I'm a foundational Black American. We are a different culture.
Culturally fine, great. But what about spiritually?
Spiritual. That what does spiritual mean? What do you mean spiritually?
I mean, like when I talk, I'm not an affiliate of any organized religion. Like I believe in God, but in a spiritual
Right.
sense, like I came from a higher being. So when I pray and meditate, I'm praying to that source and can get replenished from that source. But I don't believe, like my studies right now include Orishas and just the origins and the foundations of all these organized religions, right?
Hmm.
But spiritually, because again, the first time I went to Ghana was like when I was little, but I went back for the first time in like 15 years last year, and I'm going back again this year. And then what a lot of Black Americans experience when they um say they go to the motherland, like that awakening and stuff. I had that on a more personal level because I went to like my family's villages and stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
Still have a lot to learn because they themselves don't have that much access to their original information, depending on who you speak to. But spiritually, I think it's very important to like want to learn about African beliefs because of that connection. Because in my education and opinion, the main thing that's lacking, that keeps getting disrupted, especially in this country, but Black people everywhere, is our community. It's how we commune. It's how we gather, where we gather, what we speak about.
Now, how do those African beliefs work now?
The how black people, a lot of how black people move and speak today, it's very identical to how black skinned people in the motherland live, like how we speak, how we interact with each other. It's very identical. So spiritually, we're still very much linked to the motherland in terms of like when you if you were to go, depending on where you are, you could feel very much at home. Language is a really big barrier, but like behavior wise, right? And I feel like when language comes into the conversation now, because people are speaking on experiences they themselves don't have, like for people in the motherland to have opinions about how black Americans live in this country, it's ridiculous, and vice versa.
Yeah,
And
wait,
they
wait,
don't.
no, no, no. How do they think we live over there? Because what do they actually see on television over there of us?
Right, the
I know what they
propaganda
see,
and stuff. So I
but
think it's
but
more.
but the propaganda isn't the propaganda. And I talked about this the other day. The
Mhm.
propaganda isn't negative of us over there. They don't get negative propaganda of us over there. You know who they see on TV? They see Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Oprah. They don't see negative propaganda. You know why? Because we over here, we don't do anything that would be considered negative that's would garner international
Mm.
press.
Okay, so let me tell you this, right?
Okay.
Because the belief of America being, well, it is on paper like the number one whatever fucking country, right? Like riches is on the third. When you
Right.
then learn that there are a group of people that have been here from the beginning that are not reaping the benefits, without understanding how people have stood in our way and on our backs and everything, you're gonna have that opinion of, oh, they're lazy, oh, they don't want to do anything. They just, and then now you have the conversation of reparations where it's like, y'all really want free money without doing anything.
No.
It's
No.
the lack of
That's
education.
no 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 no
No, I'm saying like these opinions are had because of lack of education. My
no.
mother did not learn about slavery when she was in, like, she grew up in Ghana and everything. My both parents are Ghanaian. They didn't learn about slavery even in their own country. She visited the slave castles and everything when she got older. They didn't know, and so what they're learning now is very much centered around, is still, yeah, colonized education. You're caught speaking your native language in a school in Achimota, Motown, you're reprimanded for that because they want you to speak English or whatever the fuck else
No,
they're teaching their kids.
that's ma'am. That's not. That's incorrect. That's everybody in Africa knows about slavery in America. They knew slavery happened in America.
But they don't know what happened afterwards.
They
That's what I'm
do know.
saying.
They know, ma'am. I'm saying they know. And when they look on television, they see the black folks who survived slavery, the descendants of the black people who survived slavery. They see us on television shining. And that's what the problem is because that jealousy kicks in. When they see foundational black Americans on TV bling blinging and throwing money at the camera, it ain't that they think we're living in the hood and the ghetto. It's like, oh, those are katas with all of that money. It's jealousy. And they want to come over here and undermine us in many, many cases. Not all of them, but a lot of them have a lot of jealousy because there are so many of us who do well over here. So when they get here, they go try to compare themselves to the dustiest Negro in the hood they can find. They
Mm.
go look for dusty people to compare themselves to. And that's all they do. They find somebody, just like with DJ academics and all they always talk about how they did so much better than somebody in a school. Yeah, if you went to the worst school in town, yeah, you might do better than some of those people. But you never compare yourself to the brilliant black people who are normal. Some of us
Mm.
here who are doing real things. See, that's what I don't like. Don't come here and go find the dustiest, lowest common denominator and then compare yourself to that person. That's like me going to Africa and just going to all the villages where everybody's broke and be like, oh damn, look at all these folks. They ain't shit. You understand? So
Okay,
people, yeah, you feel me?
I do, and it's a valid opinion. But my issue with that is that's the only opinion.
Right.
That's I don't even think it's the intention when it gets expressed. I think it's a conditioning thing. Because yes, to come to people come here with a lot of resentment because the journey is so long to get here. Not only am I already coming with a degree, I have to get another degree in this country, right?
Mm,
So the ways in which they interact with us here once they get here, if they're going to school, whatever school they can afford, because they're not coming with money, right? If they're going to school and they're living in like our low income hoods or whatever wherever they're at, right? They're actively forming these opinions without seeing it's really a mental illness, and it's like, the shit from like racism and whatever the fuck. Because how can you participate in it even for a second and not see the same thing that's happened to you in your own country?
And
Because
what
there are
it
many valid things you can say about the motherland, about the black leaders there, that are valid criticisms. The year that SARS happened in Nigeria, where was their president? Touring Europe. You know what I'm saying? Like, people can actively critique each other if we wanted to, but I feel like when it comes to the social reality of how we interact, it's very much like influenced by whiteness and all of that shit, like white supremacy, whatever the fuck, because it's not genuine to us. It doesn't leave any room for us to grow. Like, I don't want to argue with nobody. You feel me? Like, I want people to understand, like, I'm hearing your opinion and it's valid because you experienced it, but also X, Y, Z, so many other things are at play at the same time. And when we have these conversations, I feel like we speak with trying to maintain our identity through some kind of power and not through vulnerability, and it blocks the active, like, community work that needs to be done even amongst ourselves. Like, again, I was born in the Bronx. Like, I'm a first generation American. I mean, yeah. And I already know I don't want to stay here, but I want to help the people that have helped me. Like, I'm the ultimate creative. I'm an entrepreneur. So I want to establish what I can here, the wealth that I can here. I know it's not just going to be for me, especially in this time that we're in. It doesn't make sense, especially how I understand money. Like, it doesn't make sense. But it's hard. And it's not just black people in the diaspora. It's black
now
people.
let's go back. You're kind of rambling there. You're all over the place. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Now you're talking about spiritual things. Do we have a spiritual connection to Africa? The thing is, as foundational Black Americans, we get our spiritual strength here from our foundational Black American icons. When we want to get physical, spiritual strength, we can tap into Harriet Tubman. When we want to get spiritual strength, we can tap into Nat Turner. When we want to get that spiritual strength, we can tap in to John Horse and the Black Seminoles. We want to get some of that spiritual strength, we can tap into Rosa Parks, Ida B. Wells, Dr. King. We have a lot of our icons that we can tap into here. You understand? So that's
Yeah, I'm
what,
sorry for extrapolating there. But yes,
yeah.
right? But to take it a step further, to just piggyback off what you were saying, the work that people, leaders like Kwame Ture or Malcolm X, the Pan Africanist work that they were doing. How do you see foundational Black Americans specifically, but also like Black Americans on this country as a whole, carrying on that work, the Pan Africanist effort? Because
We
also, I also do believe in like taking care of your block first, like handle your shit first, and then help other people.
Mhm.
So
And we've carried that banner long enough. We've already done our part with the Pan Africanism thing. Number one, um, it was foundational Black Americans who elevated Garvey. Garvey did not get Pan Africanism started in Jamaica or the Caribbean. In fact, he repeatedly failed. He only
mm,
got popping here. In the 1930s, it was foundational Black Americans lining up all over the country by the thousands to go over to Ethiopia to help them fight off the Italians.
mm-hmm,
In the 1960s, it was foundational Black Americans, Dr. King, and other Black church members helping out Kenyan students, including Obama's dad, who came over here to
mm,
go to the schools. It was us funding these folks using our little church money. And then it was foundational Black Americans fighting for those immigration rights and those immigration bills to help our brothers and sisters come over here. So, what we're looking at as people over there in the diaspora, we're waiting on them to say, hey, we're going to make a move too. Nobody's over there doing anything. And I don't want to hear what they can't do. There's so much land over there that
mm-hmm.
work to help us get access to so we can bring capital over there so we can start building something. But nobody's over there on that wave. Nobody. Ghana has the year of return and they have the right to abode, but there's so much red tape for that right to abode. And also, we go over there, the Black people, we got to have a bag. We got to have a whole bunch of money in order to get citizenship.
Mm,
Yes, we do.
okay.
Oh, yeah, ma'am. Ma'am. Yes, we do.
That's what
We
you said it before, but okay, uh-huh.
Okay, when we go over there,
Mm-hmm,
generally we got to come with a bag. They want to know your bank account information. They
mm-hmm,
want to pop it, and also the Black folks. And I didn't talk to several Black folks, and they're Black folks who make videos about when they go over there, how foundational Black Americans are taxed more. They give them like some little
mm.
written tax. They charge, and once they see
Right.
they're not from there, they overcharge them for certain things. They treat them a certain way. So we got to be very real about this stuff. See, I'm not going to sell nobody pie in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Really going on over there, because there's
So
still a lot. There's a lot of tribalism there too. And
right. So speaking to the economics of things, right?
yeah,
How do you view like foundational? Like, are you interested in the global economy of Black people?
of course, we've always been interested in the global economy. That's why
But you're
we.
saying that you're taking a step back because you've done the work and it hasn't been reciprocated.
What else can we do? It can't be one sided. A partnership cannot be one sided. You can't have one group doing all of the work and the other group just benefiting from the work you're doing.
Right, I understand that. But do you understand like how I mentioned like Nigeria before, right? And Ghana as well. Like, there are governments at play here that do not want their people to win the same way in this country. Like the Ghanaian government, how they
Oh,
paid their people and
I'm,
stuff.
hold on. I'm not gonna go there, guys. I'm not gonna play the song.
Okay,
All right.
okay, okay. I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not doing the oppression Olympics either. I'm just
Okay.
saying, like,
Okay. I'm not gonna play the song, guys. Oh
I'm just
God.
saying, is there room for a global education first, right? Because I feel like if we were to get together and explain how we experience government in our own countries, we can see the similarities and come to like, okay, some kind of action plan that we can all implement in our own way. We can't even get to that conversation. Hello, hello, what's going on? Is he still there? Am I still here? What's going on? Hello. Ooh.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, the whole it's the government. Oh God, not it's the government. It's the government. But
It's not just the government, but
oh God,
everything goes hand in hand. Everything's connected.
man.
Like politics and social reality of shit.
Oh God, not the government. I've explained it many, many times. I've explained it many times.
Mhm.
Foundational Black Americans, we are under the most oppressive government in known history. This government, the
Mhm.
most oppressive. And that still didn't stop us from going out of our way to help our brothers and sisters. Family, when I talked about the brothers in the 1930s who wanted to go over to help Ethiopians, the government didn't want it to happen. The government actually stopped most black people from going over there. That didn't stop
Mhm.
us. You had black people literally building their own planes to fly over there at the behest of the government. The government didn't want it to happen. We defied the government in order to help the brothers and sisters. Even in the 1960s, they didn't want us thinking globally. They didn't want Malcolm X going overseas. That's why they put a target on
Yep.
Malcolm's back. When he
Yep.
got back, he got killed. You understand? Yeah, we put our lives on the line defying the government. So the government, I want y'all to really stop using the government as an excuse. The government, when they become oppressive, that's the problem. The name of the game is to do the right thing in spite of the oppressive government. That makes you a thorough activist, and that's why people look at foundational Black Americans with with glory. This is why we are the face of Black people around the world, because they understand how
Mhm.
oppressive the United States government is, and they see we still get out there and we still put in work. We don't care. We're still going to fight for truth and justice. See, that's what makes us different. And we
And I agree.
right.
And I feel like we could come together and share the playbook so we don't got to deal with the shit at all.
Well,
Like as a pan, like I don't want to come together in oppressive Olympics, whatever. I want to come together like let's get our liberation once and for all.
okay.
Because
So
we
now,
at this point
so
it's just
now,
been many
ma'am, so
disruptions.
now, ma'am, y'all got to stop over there in the motherland. Y'all got to stop all the damn tribalism. That's the problem. Let's keep it a buck. The real problem over there, why nothing is going on there, and we can't get nothing going on over there, and y'all can't get nothing over there going on, is because of the off code tribalism. Y'all have these tribes. Y'all have a gazillion different tribes. Everybody looks the same, but there's some part of a different tribal or ethnic group. They're not on code, and small groups of whites and Asians can come in there and take over because the small group of people who are white and Asian, they're on code, and the Negroes are not. And whenever you're not on code, you're going to be taken over. And this is why us as foundational Black Americans, we have to look at our ethnic group and say, hey, we can't let off code people just keep coming among us because they're just going to keep undermining us. And this is why we we look at history and we look at why a lot of times we don't get anything popping. We look at how we get undermined. A lot of it is coming from people from the outside. Black society, before we got flooded with immigration, and we were talking about immigration a few weeks ago, and this is what kicked off many of these conversations. Let's be real, before immigration, before we got flooded with different immigrant groups, Black people, we were already dealing with Jim Crow, but we were a codified unit. We had our own businesses. We, even if we were attacked by the white supremacists, we knew how to rebuild and stack back up and get our stuff going on. We had our families intact. We didn't have a lot of violence among Black society. We didn't have a lot of outside drugs really decimating our community. We didn't have a lot of that stuff. After the 1960s, when we started fighting to have everybody come among us thinking that they're going to be allies, we had a lot of people bring in and introduce a lot of negative things into Black society that has now become a part of so called Black culture. A lot of people were able to come in and dump garbage on us. And that's another thing that I have a major problem with. When other groups come over and they do something constructive and positive, they make sure to distance that away from us so we don't get the credit for it. So if a person comes over here from the motherland and they become a doctor, well, he's a Ghanaian doctor, he's a Ghanaian American, he's the first Ghanaian American at such and such school. So they make sure to distance that person from us. Now, if that same person came over and started smoking crack and raping people, well, damn it, it's a Black problem. What's wrong with these Black folks? So they dump them on us. We have become the trash heap for all these other groups, and we're saying no, no, no. Y'all gonna have to, if you're gonna hold your positives, you're gonna hold your negatives. All your riffraffs, you're gonna take ownership of them too. And foundational Black Americans are looking out for our group so we don't have trash dumped on us, and there's nothing wrong with that. No, you hear?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
here and I agree,
yeah,
right? So I have a
yeah.
question because when you say tribalism, on a level you're asking people to abandon their cultural identity, right?
Uh-huh.
So what would you then have cultural and well full identity, honestly, because it's pleasing to die and everything. So how would you then ask them to identify, or what answer do you have? Like
Over there,
if I can no longer.
over there in Africa, what they need to do, all those tribal differences, those cultural differences, they should abandon them because they don't work. What you
But they
when
were
you
exacerbated by people of no color.
they what
But
now?
that's what I'm trying to say. Like they were exacerbated by the people of no color. Like European countries funded these civil wars and all these stuffs and further encouraged them to violent, to be violent. And I'm like, if you want to tell them to abandon that kind of mindset, then what would you tell them to adopt
No.
or to like.
What they have to do is look at themselves, look at all the Black people there as one big group. The minute they look at all the Black people there as one group, they can get them white supremacists up out of there. It's sad how all of these Black folks over there can be completely decimated by a small group of white people. It's sad. I've seen it for myself. I've been to South Africa. I've been to Zimbabwe, South
Mm.
Africa in particular, where you got all them Black people sitting over there living in shanty towns, and the white people, small minority, living in condos and nice homes, eating up all the resources. And Black folks have not done anything about it because they sit there and play on tribal differences. They got the Blacks, then the coloreds, and all of this stuff, and they're the same people, but they done ran this game on folks. We don't have that type of colorism societies over here. We don't have colorism societies over here. Whenever I see people talk about colorism over here, it's usually non FBA. We don't have societies of light skinned folks or societies of brown skinned folks. Foundational Black Americans, we dealt with these white supremacists and we understand that all of us are seen as niggas by these people. They look at all of us negatively and they look at all of us as
Hmm.
a group. So we look at them the same way. We look at them as a threat, as a group. This is why we can get a little more done as far as producing justice. Not as much as we should, but we get a little more done as far as other groups.
So who perpetuates colorism in this country then? If foundational Black Americans, if you're saying that
I say what now? Oh, you broke
gets
up.
pushed in this country, but you're saying it's
Oh,
not. Hmm?
wait, no, you broke up, dear. I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Like who perpetuates in the Black community in this country? Who perpetuates colorism? Because that, and then also, in your opinion, of the Black community, how many? What's the percentage of people that identify as foundational Black American? Because it also sounds like you're talking about a certain kind of mindset.
Okay, I don't understand your question, you. What do you mean?
Like how many? Because growing up in New York and being around Black Americans and seeing like, okay, I have like friends that are like Jamaican and Black or whatever. Um,
Right.
yeah, they don't have the mindset that you have or the care to, and it's also
Right, because a lot of those people are not FBA. They're not foundational Black America. You live in New York, and New York is full of non FBA people.
so where is
A
a
lot of
large
people,
population of foundational Black Americans in the South?
and really in the South, and
Okay.
on the West Coast too, in the South and on the West. But most, many of the foundational Black Americans on the South, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, down here in Atlanta. Most of them are down here, but even in Atlanta, you do have a lot of immigrant groups down here.
Okay.
So, but as far as who identifies, well, we're understanding our identity now. We're using our identity in a positive way now
Mm-hmm.
because other, let's be clear, other groups have always viewed us as different. When they come over, other groups, especially they come over from Africa and they call us all types of akatas and all of this stuff. They look at us as a different tribe. Even in the Caribbean, they have terms for us like Yankee and all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They look at us as a different tribal group, but in a negative sense. So we're looking at ourselves as that different group, but we're looking at it from a positive standpoint. And all ethnic and tribal groups start off by either being named by another group or defining themselves. And that's what we're doing. Foundational Black Americans, we are now defining ourselves, which is what we should have been doing a long time ago. But we've been on this Pan Africanism thing, like, oh, we're one big family. And we are to a certain degree still, because I do look at brothers and sisters from Africa as our cousins. Those are our distant cousins. We're still family in a genetic sense. I've been all over Africa, and I have a lot of love for the brothers and sisters there.
Mm-hmm.
Treat me like family. I treat them like family. But you treat your cousins a little different than you treat your brothers and sisters. Sometimes you might have a cousin that you cool with. You love your cousin, but your cousin act like a crackhead. So you got to
Right.
keep your cousin at arm's length to a certain degree. Then you have a third cousin and a fourth cousin that you kind of know them, but you don't really know them. So you know them, but you ain't gonna leave your kids around them. It's that type of thing. So
Mm.
we got to understand certain relationships that we have with people, and when these relationships benefit and help us, or when these relationships undermine us. And now we have to get the people away from us who undermine us. And a lot of the undermining come from people who are non-FBA. And this is what we've been seeing now, a lot of this off code behavior.
So what's the foundational Black American approach? Because you said like in colorism everyone's Black, but yeah, I just haven't seen or heard or anything like in terms of like overcoming that as a foundational Black American. Like that, in my opinion,
Overcoming what?
what's
Overcoming what?
colorism. Because what's happening, what I see happening on like media and stuff, and I don't live on social media, but what I see, I'm a media person, so what I see happening is like the people of no color and other communities are starting to have been rebranding a new shade of Black. Like Black does not look like what I look like, or the shade that even that you are. Like Black looks really beige, right? So as a foundational Black American, like how do you feel about like just the colorism that's going on, that gets perpetuated, that's involved in all of these conversations internally that we're having? Black man versus Black woman, the child versus the parent, authority, whatever.
I don't know what
How
you're
it
talking about.
plays out.
I don't know what colorism. We don't. Again, foundational Black Americans, we don't really trip on colorism like that. We really don't. We don't. It's not practical for us to be on some colorism thing.
But it's
We don't.
practiced by other Black people who
Well,
are foundational Black Americans but don't
usually,
claim that.
Right. Usually it's people from immigrant backgrounds who perpetuate that. It's usually folks who from Africa or the Caribbean who come over here with their colorism issues. They got them bad over there where they're from. We don't really trip on that too much. We don't
Maybe
trip on
it's a geographical like a
Look,
thing. But
foundation Black Americans. We're not about to sit up and trip on nobody's different color and different colors of black folks because we are treated the same. We know that when the white supremacists get black folks, they get light skinned black folks. They kill dark skinned black folks. They target brown skin. So we know that. So we ride out for each other. And again, we don't have little communities of just light skinned black folks or communities of just dark skin. We don't have that here. Other people do. They have these communities that the colonizers, where their countries are. See, whenever there's a large population of black people, the white supremacists know how to go in there and divide the people based on skin tone because you don't have any other races there. So in order to divide the people, they said, okay, let's this nigga's a little bit lighter than the other one, so let's let him get a certain job over here. That's all over Africa, even in the Caribbean too. You'll see certain people of different shades in the merchant business there, and the darker skinned people will be working in the agrarian culture. So the white supremacists did that kind of game in the Caribbean and in Africa. That's why over there you see people running around there with cake soap and bleaching their damn face all over the place
mm,
in epidemic proportions. So a lot of them bring those color complexes over here and try to insert them into our conversations. And that's a distraction for us because we don't get into that like that. You know,
maybe this conversation, maybe this part of it is more so geographical, like generational, because it's rampant in New York. Like I'm not gonna hold you, it's rampant in on the East Coast.
I
So
can imagine
maybe
because
that, but
there's a bunch of non FBAs out there who's from the Caribbean and from Africa out there in New York. So